Hey guys, Sunsfan here with a guide to assassins for Dota Underlords. This website we just found today, Dota Underlords build creator. Very cool. The link is underlords.now.sh, link of which is in the description. So check it out. Highly recommended. So assassins, how do you build them? Well, it's not the most difficult thing in the world. It's not exactly something you'll win consistently with, but you will consistently get top three, at least in my experience. So it's actually a very good way to rank up with the current MMR system. So I've put these are the 9 assassins in the game. Rule number 1, friends, do not go 9 assassins. It's really, really bad. But let's talk about each of these units just briefly, and then we'll move on to the actual classic build and then kind of a side variation, which I personally like a lot. I put these guys in order of what I feel like their strength is. Viper, we can take him out because he is almost never going to be a unit for us. Bounty Hunter, kind of on the same board. He's good early, but unless you can get him a very early level 3, he will typically not stay. If you do get him to level 3, then you have some decisions to make as to which units to actually get rid of. So we'll get rid of him. So these are the 7 units that you need to really decide on which to keep. So Bloodseeker will typically be the odd man out, but again, same idea with Bounty Hunter. If you get him to level 3, if you get like 2 level 2 Bloodseekers early on, it's probably a good idea to keep them. But typically, these are the 6 you're going to want to stay with. Now, in terms of items, and again, we're going to be talking about more the mid to late game with assassins, but early on, you just want any kind of a front line. It could be warriors, druids, whatever the case may be, just until you get to level 8, which is around 18 to 20. You want to get to level 8, and that's the point where you're going to start rolling, trying to keep your economy pretty healthy at the same time, but you're going to be trying to find your assassins. And the reason level 8 is so important is not only do you get the 6 assassin buff with your 2 frontliners, which we'll get to soon, but also you have a better chance to find a lot of these units to get them to level 2, and in some cases level 3, which end game, you want to have at least 2 level 3 assassins if you want to have a chance to win a game. Now, in terms of items that may come up that you want to definitely hold on to, number 1, this is a relatively early one, is Mask of Madness for heroes like Phantom Assassin or the best case scenario, Slark. And of course, if you have a Bloodseeker, this is great on him as well. Number 2, I would say Brooch of the Aggressor is really good on Templar Assassin. There's another item called Brooch of the Martyr that I've seen some people put on TA. It's really bad on her. So Brooch of the Martyr is you gain extra mana when you take damage. But you have to remember, when she has Refraction up, she's not taking damage. So it literally does nothing for her in a lot of cases. But Brooch of the Aggressor is the opposite. When you deal damage, you gain mana, which means TA will have her shield up pretty consistently. So that's a great item for her. Obviously, Pocket Sands is the global item for assassins. Extremely powerful. Definitely pick that up if you have the opportunity. And last but not least, something that I've kind of fell into how powerful it actually is BKB late game is like god tier. Absolutely god tier. But moving on to these units, Morphling and Quap, I would say, are about on the same level. PA a little bit higher. And again, she's kind of required for the basic strat of this, which we'll go over. These 3 are my favorite by far, though. Sand King gives you some crowd control, which you have pretty much none of in Assassin's build, so that's why I love this guy. Slark is like your late game right clicker, and TA is probably your most, well, she's elusive, which we'll get into that in a second, but she's the most resilient hero that you have. Okay, so let's get into what your front line is going to be. So the classic strategy, which we can start with this for now, the old Enchantress Treant combo. Enchantress buffing up Tree, because we're assuming you have a level 2 Enchantress at this point. But once you're at level 8, you want to try to transition her out for a lone Druid. This is your lineup late game in most cases. This is like exactly what you want. The reason for that is you have the 2 frontline Druids who are both very tanky. You have the Savage bonus, which is right here between Sand King and Lone Druid. And by having Treant in here, it means you have Elusive with Tree, TA, and PA. So this is like your late game. Once I'm level 8, I'm rolling hard to get level 2, level 3s. This is the lineup that you typically want. Now, there are some slight variations. And of course, like I said, if you find some level 3 units, you can replace things a little bit. But I feel like these 3 units here, well, actually, I should say with Druids, these 4 units, I don't think you can go away from them. If you absolutely can't find Slark, I guess you can. I don't know. I feel like this hero is just almost required to have a good placing. So that is strat number 1. Now, a new strategy that I've come across that I've really liked is the Knights. So we want Dragon Knight because he is the best knight in the game. And we can kind of couple him with almost any other hero, I want to say. Luna is an interesting one. There's a downside to this, though. The downside, of course, is that she's not super tanky. She's probably the least tanky of any of the knights other than Batrider, which you don't want Batrider for this strategy. But the cool thing is she does give elusive buff with PA and TA, right? But we're going to get rid of her and just say, let's just end up with an Omni Knight. You get human bonus, which is super nice. At, the level 1 human bonus, maybe not the best, but it does give consideration for perhaps, getting rid of a Morphling or even a PA in some cases for this Bloodseeker, because the faster he attacks, the better chance he's going to have the silence. So that's a cool unit to put in here. But the interesting thing about this is a required unit is Viper. So I feel like these 4 units are required for a Knight Assassins build, which means we got to get rid of 1 Assassin, which typically would be, again, if you already have the human bonus, maybe you don't care about Bloodseeker. I mean, Morphling, I end up without Morphling a lot of the time. So this is pretty strong. And Viper, he gets a bad rap. He's not amazing, but because the Dragon bonus gives him a second ability, which is the passive Corrosive Skin, it's pretty good. It's not bad. Plus it activates Dragon Knight, which, how can you go wrong with that? So in terms of positioning, and this kind of goes for whether you're doing the Druid build or the Dragon build, doesn't really matter, but you want to kind of put, and this is the typical setup, I guess, is pairs of 2s. You can kind of do this depending on who you're facing. Just group everybody together if you have pocket sands or something. I like personally and again, I've talked to a lot of pros about this, and there's no set standard way to do this, honestly. People don't know exactly how the positioning works in this game. Like if you put Sand King in front, in theory, you should be getting hit early to get off his Sand King stun, but I've noticed he just burrows anyway, so it doesn't actually matter that he's in front. But either way, I like putting like tankier units together to try to enable the weaker ones. Like if you have Bloodseeker, coupling him with Sand King is nice because he gets the burrow strike off and Bloodseeker can actually hit and not get stunned. But yeah, Assassins are a lot of fun. And of course, I forgot to mention, if you get Fall from Grace with the Knights, it's beautiful. Because if you have 2, let's say you don't have Omni Knight, you just have Abaddon would be great in this case as well. But let's just say it's a Luna. And let's put PA back in here for, I don't know, Quap or something. So this is pretty cool because you have elusive buff now, right? And we do lose the beast bonus, but Sand King I think is just required because of the CC like we talked about. But with Fall from Grace, because we have 2 humans and Bloodseeker and Dragon Knight, we get Heartless, -5 armor. And if you end up with Omni Knight here instead, then if you get to level 9 at some point, which you're going to have to get to level 9 at some point, because finding like the level 2 Lone Druid for the first strat or level 2 TA, easier to find that at level 9. But putting in a random human, like another, or even just an Abaddon, or putting in a Necro and trying to go Warlocks later, there's a lot of choices to get to this 4 Heartless. So yeah, like I said, Assassins are a lot of fun. I like them a lot, as you can probably tell. Pretty easy to rank up with, so I highly recommend it. Let us know what you thought of this guide in the comments. If you have any suggestions for future videos, just let us know, friends. So until next time, Sunsfan, signing out. Oh, P.S. guys, I guess I forgot to mention this, but Slark also obviously a scaled unit. So if you get to level 9 at some point, regardless of who you have in the front line, getting a Tidehunter here in would be great. Gives you that scale bonus, gives you more crowd control. Even a Medusa. You could literally just put in a random Slardar if you're going against mages. That extra damage mitigation to magic, 30%, is a huge deal for assassins. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in the late game. Thanks again, guys.